I am going to be installing the Comma Ford Q4 harness into my Ford Ranger 2024. First thing that needs to be done, the place where the harness goes, the device for it is behind this instrument panel cluster. So we have to get this all off and take this off and then get behind that instrument cluster. So that's what we're going to do. The first thing you do is pull this down. This piece is pretty easy. Don't worry about this. This is something else. That's a brake controller I installed. That has nothing to do with it. But you just kind of gently pull here, pull this down, maybe get under it a little bit here. This is designed to come off because this is how they get to a couple things. And so it should just come right down. There you go. And it folds down and just hangs there. It's attached right here, but you don't need to take any of that off. That can just lay right there. Obviously, be careful that you don't mess with it. The other thing you're going to do, since we're right here, is you're going to want to lower the steering wheel as much as you can and pull it out as far as you can. So you're going to want to have plenty of room there. Second thing we need to do is get behind this panel right here. And I am going to go ahead and do that, and I will use both hands, so I'll be back as soon as I've got that open. Okay, I've gotten this open. It was not that bad. A little frightening if you've never done this. There are 4 points. One up here, you can see it right there. One right here, and one down here, and then one down there. Now, they are just little round things, and they go right in this little area here. They pop right out. It's pretty easy to get these first ones. You just kind of, if you have the tool, which I have a little plastic piece here, but I don't have the ones that is forked that goes in there. But anyway, you just kind of pull. You can do it with your hands, but get the pry point as close to this point as you can, and pull out, and that will pop. Then this one's a little tougher because it's very difficult to get in back here. What I did was I took my pry tool and I went up, and then kind of pushed it from behind. And then, of course, I did the last one. So the next thing we're going to take off of is this little trim panel right here. Basically, it's just going to pull straight out and lift out. And then I'm going to pull this top part off here. So this piece comes out just straight pulling back. You just kind of grab right here, pull firmly. This side's already out. I'm going to try to pull this one out while I'm on camera. It just kind of pulls out just like that. And then this should lift up and away. I'm going to get all that out. So to pull this all the way out, you're going to have to get this little, it's not exactly bungee, but it is a cord, and it just holds it to this section. We're going to eventually be taking this out, but to get this out of the way, you pull that out. After removing this cord, and again, you have to remove it. It's just hooked on these little hooks right here. It's just a little, it's not bungee exactly, it's just a wire cord. It's on these little hooks right here. I am not going to remove it from the steering wheel. I'm just going to let that sit right there. I don't think it'll be in the way. While then I remove this top part here. To do the instrument panel, you can use a tool. I just use my fingers. You just grab it on both sides, one hand here and one over there, and you just pull straight back, and it kind of comes out. I haven't done this, but I'm sure it does the same thing here. And you just pull this on out until you get it is hooked to right there. Well, on this side, it's going to go ahead and pull all the way out. You can see it's going to come all the way down to here. On the left side, however, it goes down, this is connected, and it goes down around here. I believe all of this part comes out and this piece too. You can probably figure out how these tabs work. It's not hard. I thought maybe at first I pushed those in, and I kind of do, but here's the tab here. You just kind of push this in, and then that tab comes out around it, and you do the same down here, and that frees that up there. All right, the last tab, which was a little tricky, but in the end I just gave it a kind of a good yank, and it pulled away, and then this whole panel kind of comes away. So I'm going to zoom in on what that looks like. I pushed up on that bottom part a bit, but that one took a little bit of a tug. Not too bad. The other side came out really easy. So I have now my entire thing here, and I can get to this instrument panel. I was able to lift this up and away. There's nothing holding it on that side once you get it pulled out. There is a cord. You have to kind of make sure you get that piece, the first piece you took off the steering wheel, out of the way. And this, what I thought might be just a retention cord, is actually an electrical cord. So be careful when you're pulling it out. And it plugs in there. I guess it goes, I don't know. And I don't much care, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay this gently right here out of my way, and not even disconnect that. I'll just kind of leave it right there on the floor. Okay, the last piece of trim piece that you have to pull is this one. I've already pulled it. It takes a little bit. You kind of grab it right here, pulls straight out. It has three points that it pulls off. But by the way, this blue thing, I mentioned earlier that I put a screwdriver under it. You don't really need to do that. You just pull. And that allows you to get to the last screw on your instrument cluster. We're going to take out that screw, this screw, that screw, which is almost all the way out, and this screw, which is already I've taken out. It uses a 7mm wrench. Make sure you have a 7mm. A lot of sets only have a 6 or an 8, and you really need that 7. So we're going to remove that and put it up here on top of this towel that I've placed. I've removed the instrument panel. What you do, you don't have to disconnect. You just kind of rotate it 180 degrees, and it'll sit kind of up here. This is the top, so you got to kind of rotate it around so it'll fit underneath your windshield up here. This is the Q4 box, I believe. This is where the Comma harness goes. This is a big old thing of bound cables. You may have to kind of bend that out of the way, kind of push it down so that you can get at that. But so that's where the harness is going to go. So I have pulled out the harness from there. There is a little clip right here. You take a little screwdriver and push that down. It pulls straight out. Okay. Now the harness that comes with the Comma, exactly the same plug. What you're going to do is take this plug and plug it right in where the old one went, and then you're going to take the original one and you're going to plug it in right here. And then this is where your Comma is going to hook into. So that's what we're going to do right now. I'm about ready to put in my cable, USB-C OBD cable, but instead of putting the one that came with the Comma directly in, I've bought an extension. It's male on one side, female on the other. And I'm going to put it in, and then I'm going to run it down through here and run it down here to the side. The reason I'm doing this is that I don't want to go through this again. The Comma cable I'll be unplugging all the time if I remove the Comma from the car, and it might wear out. So I'm decided to put this extension in so that if I have to replace the Comma cable, I don't have to tear apart my dashboard again. Now the one thing is, unlike the Comma cable will go in till it clicks. This does not click. It goes in, but does not click, which means I'm going to go ahead and take some electrical tape, and I'm going to tape that to make sure that it doesn't accidentally come loose through vibration. Cable is in. There's my USB extension. I've taped it to there to make sure it doesn't come out. I push it all back past this little flange here, just to make sure it doesn't get in the way of the instrument console. The other thing that I'm going to do is I am going to screw this back on. Not put the dashboard trim back yet, but put the monitor, the console back, and then plug in the Comma and drive around and make sure everything's working. I'm almost certain that this cable, which is a 3.1 Gen 2 2x2, which is the 20 gigabytes or whatever, the fastest one, and I made sure it all had all 24 pins. I'm pretty sure it's going to be fine, but just to make sure, I'm going to just put the monitor in, put a couple screws in, and then drive it around. So when putting back your main instrument dashboard piece, make sure that you have this wire out, and make sure you don't get it caught right here. So I'm going to have to pull this again because I didn't make sure that this runs free, and under this it will have to go in these little hooks. But so I pulled it up so I'd have access, but I neglected to keep it out from there. So just make sure you don't do that. When you're moving these pieces around, particularly this dashboard piece, you can accidentally lose these little clips that are on top. If that happens, they won't clip back into place. I actually lost one right here, so now I need to pull this and put it back. So just make sure that when you're moving around, you don't lose one of these little white clips. Otherwise, it won't click back in securely. So I've got everything put back together. The dashboard's all back. This little piece went in first, followed by this piece, making sure that that cable that goes across there is not pinched or caught in the way, so you kind of pull it out. Then I put this piece back on. It's a little difficult to get the wires clipped back in there, but I don't think it makes too much difference. And then the last piece is that this goes up. You'll see now that I have my extension cable hooked into the Comma cable. And right now, I just have it kind of coming up here. I haven't got this piece all the way in because I have a temporary route all the way here to my Comma. The reason I'm doing this is to test drive it, make sure, because I really want to move my Comma up to here if it works. I just think that would be a better place out of my way. You can see with my height how very little room I have to see in that blind spot. If you're lower like this, it's not as big a deal, but for me it is. Anyway, at that time I'll run the wires under here and then down there and up through that. One more thing, I am doing temporary mounts with this stuff called alien tape. This stuff is pretty amazing. I use it in my camper all the time. It's just a thick, it's kind of like the command strip tape. You just cut off a piece. Right now I'm not even using a mount. It's just, and boy, it's on there good, but it's just a piece right there, and you can basically put it wherever you want, and it, you know, you push it on there, and it's cold, right? This is cold glass, and it sticks. So I'm not saying you should do that permanently, and I'm also not saying it might not fall off if it gets cold or hot, but for temporary mounting testing, it works great. I'm going to run my wire now. I'm going to run it up here and across to my comma. I'm mounting my comma here rather than in the traditional location, since I'm pretty tall and down there would block the little view that I have. So the extension cable that I bought was 3 foot long, 1 meter long, and it will reach up here and up there. Previously I had shown that I have it routed down there. I am going to run it up here. This comes off pretty easily. I started here. I used this little tool to kind of get back there. You bend this back. Honestly, once it got down a little ways, I grabbed it up here and it pulls straight out. You can see the clip there and there. The thing you have to be careful of is that this white thing, that is your airbag. You don't, a lot of people will disconnect the battery. You definitely don't want that thing going off. I want to route the wire through this pillar, and I had it down here. And when you move that, you can see if I can get this down here so you can see. Okay. You can see where it would go out. See that light, that little light area up there? And I need it up there, but I wired it down in front of this. So how do I get it back up there and reach it? Well, it turns out, and I hope you can follow this, it turns out that if you get down under here and you look up, you got plenty of room to get your arm under there. You can see the cable that I pulled out. You can reach all the way up and grab the cable, pull it back out. You can actually reach all the way up to the Q4 module, and then you can then route it up through that little opening that you see there. That opening is big enough to, I'm a big guy and I put my hand there, so you can do that. My extension cable, my USB-C extension cable, now runs through the inside of this. I went up, put it on the top side, right over here. Now, I did not pull this all the way out for a couple reasons. One is because it has these 2 hooks for the airbag, and I couldn't easily figure out how to get rid of them. And there's no need. You do have to loosen it so you can get to it. But then I ran this up. Now the 3 foot, 1 meter, just barely reaches. I think if I had planned this better, I would have made sure that I had as much room as possible. You may want to get a 6 foot, but the 3 foot works fine. All it has to do is get to that point, and we're good. It's just, I don't have any extra play. So I'm going to put this trim back on and then hook it up to the comma. There's my USB extension, looking nice and tidy there. A little bit of a gap, but quite honestly, not more than some of the gaps in the normal trim. Comma sends a long and a short cable. This short cable, if you're going to mount it to this location, and maybe even if you mounted it under the mirror, is perfectly long enough to reach that. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. Just like that. The car's turned on, and you see the comma booting. Now again, under your headliner, you have, it's really loose, and you can just tuck all that up into that. You should have enough room. I'm gonna have to work at it with 2 hands, but I'm almost positive there'll be plenty of room to tuck that up there so that you don't see anything at all. You might not have your comma mounted quite that close. I might not either. I'm still experimenting. I have a non-permanent mount on it, but there you go. My comma is now installed. This cable, if it wears out because of plugging and unplugging, I only have to replace it. This won't be unplugged nearly as often because it's just going to stay. And so I don't ever have to mess with, if I need a new cable, I don't ever have to get all new trim and do this all over again. So I hope this helps somebody.